Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Javed Ahmad and my rule number is F20161190 and my subject is myth and fairy tale. Why did I choose this subject? First of all, I will talk about this subject or the reason behind choosing this subject. So when I saw the name of this subject, myth and fairy tale, I was quite excited to learn about the different myths of different culture. First of all, I was like, what would be more interesting about this subject? I chose this subject to know about the myths and fairy tales not only of Pakistan but all over the world. I made my mind to know the myths which we can see found in everywhere in this world and in every culture. So I'll I'll talk about the myths which I have understood so far in this subject. That a myth is a story with a purpose. It tries to explain the way the world is. Myths also try to explain the relationship between gods and humans. Even though events in a myth are usually impossible, they try to send a message that has an important social or religious meaning. For early people, myths were like science because they explain how things work. They also explain other questions that are now answered through modern science. The more which I have understood about the myth, that myth is a traditional story normally to be about supernatural beings, creatures, gods, heroes, etc. Then in third, which I have understood, that a myth is always based on some sort of fact, that there is no evidence to say it is real. Then comes selected myth. I have selected the myth of Pakistan, that we can always hear that Pakistan ने कभी heroes produce नहीं की. I will clear this myth that there are many credible achievements on contribution to the list of successful individual living in out of Pakistan. Anam Fatima is one of them. She completed her BA from CBM and is now being sent to Harvard Business School of summer for summer exchange program on a full scholarship. You can see there is no denying the relentless realities of corruption, injustice, and violence which plague the country today. But there are two sides of every coin. You can see Aisha Farooq, one of the Pakistani first ever female war ready fighter pilot. Then comes Wasim Akram, a legend of cricket in the cricket history. Then Shoaib Akhtar, one of the fastest bowler of cricket history. Babar Azam comes. Then Abdul Star Idhi, Abdul Qadir Sahab, Arfa Karim, Shahid Khan Afridi, and Malala Yousafzai. The relation of myths to my culture, as we have been told by our elders to pick a proper day for cutting our nails frequently requested, evolved from Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and even Sundays for cutting down loose honey covering over our fingertips and toes. Then the myth which I have been listening since my childhood, that don't overturn your shoes, यानी चप्पल को उल्टा करके मत रखो. In the event that you do this, you are carrying out an awful thing which drives God angry, and this thing by one way or another considered as a wrongdoing which can make problems for the entire group of that individual who has done this, and this thing is genuinely on and off base focus. Then fairy tale, which I have understood about the fairy tale, generally Fairy tales are collected from culture, folklore, and have developed over many generations of retelling. So people do not write fairy tales, although they may collect them and write them down. Elements of a fairy tale are special words, settings, character, magic, problem, and solutions. The Little Red Riding Hood, the best version, which look best version to me is the version of Roald Dahl's version of Little Red Riding Hood. In this Little Red Riding Hood, and the wolf is written in a more poetic way. That's why I like the most this version, because Roald Dahl has used this poetic styles. For example, Dahl's writes, but grandma's small and tough, and Wolfie wailed, that's not enough. In other words, Dahl's often uses rhymes in his words, unlike the other version of the story. This version, the wolf puts on shoes, brushes, and curls his hair. Moving forward, uh, the version which I do not like the most is the version of uh, cartoon version, Calvin and Hobbes by William Weston. In this version, dad is telling a story to a bedtime story. Um as I don't like the cartoons, that's why uh, I anyhow I like this version, but this version didn't didn't impress me as the version of Dolls has impressed, because from my childhood I have been watching movies and dramas and more many things. I always love to see happy endings, but in this story, the Little Red Riding Hood and the Hunter were written, they did not, and they did not have a happy endings. That's why I did not like this story more. The personal experience of writing Little Red Riding Hood, when we were assigned this story to write on the current situation, when I was writing my story in as Red Riding Hood, I was feeling myself there at the place of real Red Riding Hood. I stopped writing this story many times, as the fear of Corona had been influencing on our minds. But overall, I enjoyed my own experience writing this story, as it was very new to me, and I was doing it, and truly writing this story was like something special for me. For this, I would especially thank to my respected ma'am Rabah Arshad. She has made our very much boring schedule of study more interesting. And uh, the version of my follow which I have liked the most, the version of Muhammad Murad. Why I like this story, Muhammad Murad, I found his story more interesting than the others, because in Murad's story I found some literary words, and his story was much more performed than the others. He used many eye-catching words in his story, and the most important thing, he did not use the wolf, which I saw the character of wolf in almost every story of my classmates. So I think I didn't found any other story more eye-catching than Muhammad Murad.